empowering change for sustainability and equalities in higher education, in collaboration with Law Teachers India. And we welcome you on behalf of Department of Law, Arts and Science, Faculty of Law, Manipal University, Jaipur. And today this is the fourth day, and today our guest speaker is Dr. B.S. Patil. Presently, he is working in as an associate professor in the V.M. Salgaonkar College of Law, Goa. It is in Panji, and he is working in this institution for last 2 decades. Dr. Patil has been involved with research projects on improving access to legal aid as a part of building integrated approach funded by United Nations Development Fund for Women in the year 2006, and also with the project on access to justice, study of the law school-based legal service clinics funded by United Nations Development Program and the Government of India in the year 2011. He has also been part of the UGC initiative of e-Pathshala by contributing to the e-content on access to justice for the postgraduate law students. His lectures on the selected modules are also available at UGC website, and he has also been empaneled as a resource person in the Karnataka Institute of Law and Parliamentary Reform, KILPAR, Bangalore, a Government of Karnataka initiative. So we welcome you, sir, in this Executive Development Program. And sir is going to give his insights on reduced inequalities in academia. Sir, welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And at the outset, I would like to thank Kalpesh, because Kalpesh always put me through challenging topics. And this was one such a challenging topic which I had no experience of dealing with. But last 1 month has been a roller coaster ride for me, because I have gone through so many reading materials, and then I have also got a lot of inputs from the participants. And I also thank Dr. Mona to bear with me, because all the time I was calling, I was emailing her and asking her to push the participants to respond. From 64, we reached to 271, and it's all efforts from Dr. Mona. I really thank her for that. And Dr. Mariam has been a guiding light for me, because when I came across this topic, before I could invest my time in on this topic, I wanted someone to clarify what is the expectations, and I really had a long discussion with Dr. Mariam, and that gave me a clarity on what to and how to go about it. So these are the three
Thank
main.
you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
These are the three
On behalf of
instrumentalities.
Dr. Mona and myself.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Because
Thank you.
these instrumentalities must be mentioned, because this is a combined effort of all that we culminated into this today's lecture. Even though 271 people have responded to the work, 76 are attending as of now, and I hope the number is going to increase as we progress. So when we talk about this reduced inequalities, I have 10 points to discuss, and I'm going to start with the introduction and I end up with the conclusion remark. But in the whole throughout these 10 discussions, which I'm going to have uh, uh, a long deliberations with you all, I would like to use chat box to raise the questions as and when it appears to your mind. You can interrupt me, you can unmute and talk to me about this issue. And anyway, at the end, there will be question answer sessions, even that can be utilized. But it will be nice if you interrupt me and ask me the question, so that I can correct myself if you are not agreeing with me. And most of my presentations are going to have two parts. First, I'm going to talk about opinion of this group, this well-informed group, how they look at the inequalities that exist in academia. And and then another part, The first part is the how we perceive as a group about this, and then how do we address those perception? How do we reduce the inequalities? I'm going to talk about few ideas with which we can reduce our inequalities and make academia more balanced, more equal, and as well as we really create a generation which is going to bring best out of humanity. So that is the idea with which I have planned this presentation. And so that is how two stages will come in every discussion, the 10 discussions I'm talking about. In between, I'm also going to talk about some of the dichotomy, that is inconsistencies that I see in your responses. So that would be a good way of learning that how do we assess, analyze the 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 survey that we collect, the inputs that we collect from the respondents, how it should be done. So that's again, it's just what we call it as a collateral benefit or collateral damage I can speak about. But my main area of concentration is going to be reduced inequalities in academia. Actually, I'm not talking about reduced inequalities, I'm talking about reducing the inequalities. Yes, definitely there are inequalities which has been reduced to a very large extent, but a lot more has to be done. So first, let me talk about inequalities that exist in academia. So this is as a part of my introduction. So my introduction has got three parts. One is identifying the stakeholders, then identifying the inequalities among them, and then knowing the group that we are going to have discussion about. So as I looked at the stakeholders in academia, we have students, the main stakeholder, teachers, that is equally important stakeholder, parents who fund the education, employers who are again important stakeholder because they also fund the academia plus, and their orientation is more important, and then finally as a society the beneficiary of this exercise. Institutional inequality, when we talk about institutions, we face economic inequality. Some are well off, some are well funded, some are dire in need of funds. They're barely able to succeed in staying afloat. That inequality do exist in the society, that is between the institutions. Student intake inequality, yes. Again, student intake, there are two types of inequalities. One is quality, other one is the quantity. So some schools attract the cream of the nation, and some deal with the remaining, and some deal with further diluted lot. But we cannot ignore the role of each of these institutions. And I still feel that rather than all cream going to one place, if the cream gets distributed, the society would be much better benefited. And no doubt, students are also going to be benefited from that. Inequality in providing opportunity, that's again directly correlated with economic inequality. If the institution is not sound economically, they won't be able to provide opportunities neither to students nor to teachers. Affiliated and constituent institutions inequality. Now, this is again a very interesting inequality that exists in the society. Uh, the affiliated colleges, that is the private colleges affiliated to an university, and an institution run by the university, like a department of law. Now, that's the major inequality. That, and without any hesitation, I can mention that they also practice untouchability because affiliated institutions cannot hold certain positions in the university, even though they have a BOS, board of studies will be there. There will be examination. Uh, committee will be there. All these things, what the affiliated colleges can do, maximum reach up to certain level. Beyond that, it is the prerogative of the constituent institutions. That is another inequality that exists. But these are all the major problems which exist in the society. But even though we call, there are certain reduction is there, but a lot more can be done. Teachers. Now, teachers inequality starts with the gender bias. And here I think I could say from the feedback from the institute, from this program, uh, men need more protection nowadays, especially in teaching law. I'll establish that point. Give me some time. Class bias, traditional university institutions of excellence. So that's again, there's a big class bias is there. This also I will establish from my readings, my studies of the respondents. And please remember class bias question here, because institutions of excellence do exist all over India. And these institutions of excellence call or treat themselves as a class apart. And traditional universities fall in line, and they do treat them as a class apart. Please remember, there is nothing called as a class apart. It's only exposure, opportunity, and dedication to the work. If we dedicate to our work innovatively and smartly, then definitely we can be a person of excellence in an institution. So that's nothing wrong in that. Why you need an institution of excellence? You can be a person of excellence in a traditional university. Resource created bias. Now this very largely it has been addressed, because some institutions have more resources, from information to economics and to the quality of the students. Their resources are much better than others. Expertise bias. Now this is the major problem, because some institutions get more funding because they are considered to be experts, and we are called as the general colleges. So the general colleges do not get that kind of funding. So how do you address this? Now this is again, I don't blame the funding institutions, because funding institutions fund based upon the confidence that you create in them. uh, the better the confidence, better would be the funding. And how do you create confidence in them? For that, you have to work. You have to work throughout the year. It's not that some funding agency has opened up an application and then you start working. So you have to work for a year, and then any funding agency opens up, apply and get the funding. So that's again a very easy thing to do, but we don't get ourselves involved with that. Publication bias, that's again, publication is very much required to survive in the academia, but because that there is a very popular saying that publish or perish. Now, uh, the situation is such that you publish to get perished, because all of the what you call predatory journals are coming, clone journals are coming, copycat journals are coming now, because everybody wants to publish for the sake of it. There was a time when publication used to be done out of curiosity, out of the the urge to write and urge to publish. But now it has become mandatory to publish. College university bias, geographical bias, that's again a very, very large problem. Rural institutions, urban institutions, and the metro institutions. So there's a big bias is there. I think this bias has to be bridged, and I think NEP is taking a good step towards it, because geographical bias and lingual bias, because language bias depends upon the geography also. Now the NEP demands bilingual teaching exercise. So we have to utilize at minimum two languages in our teaching exercise. So there is nothing called as looking down upon a person for not knowing English. He can always demand an explanation in the local language. So therefore, with that, what happens is slowly there is going to be a literature built around that language, especially related to law, and that's going to help in the long run. So I feel the geographical and linguistic bias would be built if we take this bilingual teaching seriously. The only problem here is the School of Excellence who attract students from all over India. So there, what would be the bilingual teaching? So that's again, that's a challenge needs to be addressed, because if the institution is situated in Bangalore and 25-30% of the students are Kannada speaking, then definitely Kannada should be the second language in the teaching. What about the North Indians, the Malayalis, other state students who have joined there? Yes, definitely they will have a problem, but they know how to overcome the problem, because whenever whatever is told in Kannada has to be translated into English, so that they have to exercise some kind of patience. Lack of diversity is another major problem among the teachers, because if this is becoming a problem nowadays, because appointment process have become more strict now. Local knowledge of the local language has become more mandatory. So with that, what happens is we don't have the diversity that is required in an institution. So if the faculty of an institution is from pan India, if the faculty is from pan society, all Varna systems are present there, all linguistic people are present there, then that diversity really helps in building the institutions. Work-life balance is another problem, because that's a major problem with the teachers, because male teacher and female teachers, the style of balancing is very different from one another. Students, again, there are inequalities. We will deal with these things as and when we progress. Diversity in the class is a major problem. Interest inequality, that's again, so why somebody is doing law. See, 60 students have 60 objectives, 60 interests, and we treat them as one organism. When you go to class, we teach them with one kind of enthusiasm, and we expect everyone to get motivated with that. But their interest would be different. What they respond to would be different. And that has to be identified, and which we don't do. Outlook inequality, slow, fast learners, that's a major problem which both have to be addressed, because fast learners get bored if you repeat the explanations again and again. The slow learners don't catch up if you don't repeat it again and again. Training bias, only training for advocacy, corporate jobs, politics, judgeship. Because see, what is happening here is we train only for certain professions. What about the training for the others? Now, when we teach law in our colleges, we teach law to become what? We are not sure. As a teachers, we are not sure what they should become. We teach them to clear law. We teach them to pass the law exam. Whether they are going to be advocate, corporate, politics, judgeship, we are not aware. We are not training them for any of that. That's the major inequality. There's a major bias, training bias among the teachers, because we spend a lot of time making them understand what the law says. But how an advocate should understand the law, how a judge should understand the law, there will be a difference. That training should be done. That separate training should be done. Access to education, disability inequality, that's another major thing. So as I already mentioned about the object, I will not spend time on that, because I have only 1.5 hours to cover. Now, knowing the crowd. Now, I got response from 271 student participants, and when I went through that study, first striking point that I noticed is 67% of female are participating in this seminar. So the majority of the opinion that I'm going to share with you are from female. And second thing, the most interesting and impressive thing is all age groups are almost equally represented. 23 to 30, they are the future of India when it comes to teaching. 31 to 40 is 31, they both are same. And my age group is only 8.2%. That's okay, you are the end, the leg of the career, but still nothing wrong in learning new things. But only 8.2% are present there. But your inputs would be great, because you are having an ample experience in understanding and seeing this inequalities. Profession, 80% are teachers, and students are 12% good. Good to see some students in the process, and management is of 0.8%. Even I appreciate that they want to know how to reduce the inequalities. Means these are the management which are sincere with their objectives. Institutions, government institutions are 14% more than aided institutions. That's again heartening to see, because there is always an allegation against the government institutions that they are not serious about their work. But here it's quite different. But private, they take the cake. That is 76% are private institutions. Again, when you go through the institutions, I said there is a class bias. National law schools, zero. Nobody is participating from national law schools. None of the national law schools, which 22 exist in India. But I'm not criticizing that why they are not joining. They should have joined, another thing. Uh, and I'm also not going to list out the reasons why they have not joined. I think you can already make out the reasons for their absence. But at the same time, university is represented 41%, college are 35%, private universities are 22%. So I do see that a lot of involvement is there in learning and reducing the inequalities. Location wise, I think 73% is urban located, and 21% is semi-urban, and rural is 6%. But if you look at that, urban takes up the major areas. So this is that you should know who you are, and this is what you are, and this is how I got the result due to the efforts of the organizers of this event. So this is about how you all are and what you are going to expect in today's discussion. So let me take you to the second discussion, that is what is inequality and what are the types of inequality. I asked this question to you. How do you define inequality? Almost 50% of the said lack of opportunity, and lack of recognition is 31%. But if you look at correctly at these things, these are not inequalities, these are the results of inequalities. When you face an inequality, you suffer lack of opportunity. So therefore, this is not a definition of inequality, these are the results of inequality. But anyway, I must say that if I had given an option to choose more than one, all of you have chosen all four of that. I didn't wanted that. I wanted you to choose the best or most appropriate answer according to you and your personal experience. I do see some people are unhappy because they don't get recognition for what they do, and others get the recognition even they do half of the work that they have done. At the same time, lack of opportunity. Some get all the opportunities, some don't get the opportunities. Some institutions create opportunity for the teachers, some do not. How do you define? So therefore, when I look at these things, why there is a lack of opportunity, why there is a of um, recognition, etc. It is because of unequal treatment experienced by an individuals, and it is why it happens. It is because of inequality in access, opportunity, representation, treatment, and structural barrier. See, when there is inequality in representation, then definitely we will have a problem of being heard. When you are not heard, definitely you are going to suffer because your concerns are not being addressed. Why your concerns are not addressed? Because you are not being heard. So therefore, uh, representation must be there. Treatment should be equal. That's again a very important thing. We should not go by favoritism. That's something which we should avoid in an institutional setup. Policy and structural barrier, definitely yes, because some of the policies are against certain kind of work. Say for example, the policy that everyone should complete the syllabus, and everyone between 23 to 30, 31 to 40 would say that that's a harsh rule. Anybody above that say that it's a mandatory rule. It should be insisted. But my question is, if you insist on completion of syllabus, then how do you innovate your teachings? How do you involve students in learning through experiments, simulation exercises? How do you make learning a fun? How do you address the diverse interest in the classroom? As I said, that people come with a different interests. You have to address each one of that. So how do you think that everyone is taken care of if you concentrate heavily on syllabus? So therefore, that policy of completion of syllabus can create a barrier on innovation. So that is something you have to keep in mind. So how do we address these things in these inequalities? So let us look at the first one, inequality in access. Now, access can be of information, opportunities for participation, organization, funds, whatever may be that you are not getting enough. Let us look at consortium as a remedy. Now, why don't you form a consortium of 10 law colleges or 20 law colleges? When you form this consortium can be used for exchange of ideas, exchange of resources. So therefore, one resource can be utilized by many institutions. So with that cooperation, you can really elevate your level of education. You can really contribute more for the learning experience of the students. So once you bring all the colleges together, there can be exchange of teachers. They can go to different colleges and teach. That exposure is very important for the teachers, because I may be a great teacher in my college because of many reasons. I am a senior most teacher. I am a strict teacher. I hold. I'm in charge of attendance. All this play in the mind of the student, and they behave properly in your class. But you are sent to another institutions. You are nobody. There you have to create an impression. There you have to create the same kind of uh, impression what you have in your college. Now that's a challenge, and that's going to bring best out of you. Access to information is again uh, very difficult in once upon a time, but now it's much easier because of digitization. But many a times technology and information is available at cost. So how do you address that? Because you have no fund. This consortium can form a very good bargaining power. It can create a very good bargaining power. Now, if I call SEC online and tell that we are 10 institutions, 3 students, and we want to bargain you about your services, how much you're going to quote. Same way you are going to talk to Manupatra, we are going to talk to LexisNexis, we are going to talk to Vakil.com, IndiaAccountant.com. Let them come, let them pose. But definitely you are going to get the same uh, facilities for a lesser price. And second thing is when you create this consortium, you can charge fees separately for this consortium, and this consortium can create a wealth, knowledge for the consumption of all the law colleges. And then we can also create a graded fee structure. Any institution which uses maximum facilities of the consortium will be charged less. There will be competition to use more. So that is what you're going to build. That is access can be addressed through consortium. So cooperation is always better than competition. So utilization of online information, all these things play a very important role. So think of forming a cooperative consortium. Then inequality in opportunity. Now why there is inequality in opportunity? Again, this inequality in opportunity of two types: within the institution, between the teachers, and between the institutions. Now, when it comes to inequality within the teachers, if you're feeling that there is inequality, then it's time not to keep quiet. You can always see, I'm not asking you to raise this issue with the management or someone, accuse someone. You can always make a proposal that let's have a policy on attending seminars. Let there be a policy on subject allotment. Let there be a policy in writing. Because the moment you create a policy in writing, you have something to rely upon and to address that whether the person is um, within the structure of the policy or is going beyond. Now, see what happens is many times we grumble, and many of our grumblings are without any reasons. And that's why the policy becomes very, very important. So we need to make a policy and we need to adopt that policy. Inequality in representation, that's again a very important point. That every aspect of the society should be represented in the process. Again, here we need a policy. Inequality in treatment. Now, here again, the policy can work very well, but before framing the policy, we need to identify the treatments where inequality exists. For that, there's a lot of groundwork to be done. We need to conduct survey, we need to conduct group discussions, we need to talk to the people, counselors are employed, even mentors should be employed to identify the inequality in treatment. And finally, policy and structural barrier. Again, this has to be identified and we have to overcome these barriers. Again, please remember the object of the education should never be forgotten. Completion of a syllabus, yes, it is within the object of the running of an institution in education. But you cannot sacrifice the learning process in a technicality of completion of the syllabus. So that's something which we need to address. We need to understand because see, I understand many of you are worried that some people, some teachers can misuse this permission and they may not conduct classes, they may not teach anything, and they say that the term is over. You read on your own and write the exam. Yes, we run that risk. But why that is a risk? Ask for the feedback from the students. If the students give a feedback that it's a waste of time to attend the teacher's class, take action. See, we cannot say that by completing the syllabus, you are a great teacher. You are a great teacher if student starts remembering you when they start practicing. So this is about the discussion on uh, inequalities. Now, again, when you look into the types of inequality, uh, here we have a preferential rule for men, preferential rule for women, caste and class bias. Now, if you look at the last two, caste and the class bias, they make up to 60% of the result. Preferential rules for men, they feel the men are preferred. That is almost like 29% of the respondents feel like that. And preferential rules for women, only 12% think that way. So as I said, that 66% of the respondents are women and only 33 are men. So therefore, here the blue thing, what has been met there, what has been kept there, we should not take it on a face value. As the researcher, I'm telling you, not as a man, but as a researcher, I'm saying that when 66% of the teachers feel that there is a preferential uh, rules for men, we should think about it. But don't reject the result as of now. Let us look into other questions and compare this with those questions. But I am more worried about this caste and class bias. Forget about these men preferential treatment for men and other thing as of now, because they do exist. Preferential treatment for men do exist. So when it comes to class and caste bias, how do we address this? Most of the responses I'm not typing here, or most of the remedies I'm suggesting here, are repetitive. But these repetitive suggestions are going to solve different problems when you have a different approach. So class and caste bias, yes, that do exist, and such bias are difficult to handle. And that's for that purpose only we need to have inclusive policy. We should provide leadership opportunities to more and more people. So for that, we need more and more activities. Accountability mechanism. If anybody exercises those biases, they should be punished through an accountability mechanism. Then we need to have the training, that is how to avoid bias consciously, because sometimes we behave in a biased manner, unconscious manner, but there are certain things we should do before we adopt that thing. Then cultural sensitivity, that's again a very important thing, because many a times we reduce culture as not important, but it's okay as long as we are within our friends, because friend do understand that whatever I'm saying is, I am not serious about it and I don't mean it. But when it comes to interaction with other members, then definitely the sensitivity is required. Support systems, yes, we need to develop some support systems with which we can avoid all these problems. Mentorship programs can be a very good remedy for these things, caste and class bias, because in the mentorship program, when you have one-to-one conversation with the students, you come to know about a lot of things, and you can nip all the problems in the bud. But for that, you need to spend more time with the students. So mentorship should be a great initiative. So if I have 20 students, I'm a mentor for 20 students, I make sure that I'll meet them once in 15 days individually and ask them how much they have done, how many subjects they have cleared, why they are not cleared, what is the attendance, rate of attendance, all these things. Because the moment you start asking questions, they just try to avoid those questions by fulfilling the requirements. That's the nature of the students. Inclusive curriculum, yes, that's another thing, but that's not in our hand. That BOS has to do it. Data collection and analysis. Now, this is something, conduct of survey. We need to understand the class and caste bias that prevails, and how the students perceive about the behavior of the teacher, and how teachers perceive the behavior of the student. All these things should be analyzed, and then based on this data, we should take the decisions. Financial support, yes, that's again a very important requirement, because with that small support, we can overcome these biases. So then regular audit should be done, feedback should be collected on a regular basis. So that is how we deal with inequality, and these are the types of inequality that should be dealt with. Now let me take you to the next discussion, that is called as intersectionality. This is the most dangerous of all inequalities. When I asked the question, are you aware about this? Then almost 50% they said that they are aware about it, and 24% they said they have a fair idea about it, what it is. See, intersectionality is nothing but there is a identity of a person. Based on the identity, he is discriminated or he is privileged. So, what are the identities that can create the such kind of privileges or discriminations? Any identity. It can be an identity of background. It can be identity of parents' profession. It can be identity of economic status, poor, rich, neo-rich. These all are the identities. The moment I identify him with some qualities, then immediately some privileges flow with that, or discriminations flow with that. And that is something which we need to worry about. Second point, or a feature of intersectionality, is that in this intersectionality, we are not talking about uh, inequality treatment or bias treatment from the top fellow to down fellow. It's not that teacher is behaving in a biased manner with students, not that principal is behaving biased with teachers, senior teacher with junior teacher. No, this is not intersectionality. Intersectionality is within the section. It's a biased behavior in the students, among them, biased behavior among the teachers. That is intersectionality. So if you look at the identities, personal identities, I have given a small list, that is a geographic location, language, religion, disability, gender, economic. These are the some of the uh, intersectionalities, and these are the very dangerous phenomena if if it is left untreated. I will take a few minutes of yours. Uh, I have studied in a different colleges and schools because father used to get transferred. And one place where I started studying, and that was my degree education, that geographical requirements was quite different. The people in that locality had a huge land holdings. The poorest of the villager had 20 acres of land, but they are all rain-fed land. Because of their rain-fed land, whenever the rain fails, they were stuck in poverty, very difficult to recover from the investment for the agriculture. So they found one way out: education. They felt
Pa-
that education.
Patil
Yes,
sir, sorry for interruption. You would like to take up question right now or at the end? Because couple of them, participants, they have raised hand.
just
What?
can you repeat what you said?
So you would like to take question at the end or right now?
Yeah, I
In
can take
between?
now. Question
Okay,
list?
okay, so, okay, yeah. Because in couple
Yeah,
of them
please.
raised hand. Yeah, Father Joseph and then Doctor Nimpia.
Yeah.
Yes, Father Joseph.
Oh, they raised hand. I didn't see.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, yes. Here it is. Yes, Reverend Father.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yes,
While
good
you were
afternoon.
talking about the inequality, we have, uh, I have identified a kind of inequality among the institutions. Like
Hmm.
some are just this running some institutions with the intention of making money. They don't have any other see, they are not catering to the benefit of the society. They just like an industry because after TMFI in communication cases, it can be considered as an industry with education.
Yeah.
So such institutions are there, and also can we consider it as another kind of inequality which is existing? The
Sure.
normal institutions and institutions which are run by industrialists. You know,
Hmm.
some mega industrialists are having universities now. Verma, Jindal.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Nimpriya, what's your question?
Okay, Doctor Nimpria, are you there? Maybe by mistake she would have raised hand. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you for the question, Reverend Father, because some institutions are trying to make money when actually when things are looking bright. Say, engineering was a fad that time. Many institutions started engineering colleges, and now the law is gaining the preference, and therefore everybody is opening the law institutions and law colleges. Uh, this approach of making money and making quick bucks and then close the shop, that they are called as um, what they call it as night flyers or by night flyers, because they are not there for a long run. When they start an institutions, they don't give any facilities, and they are not interested in giving any facilities because anything which involves expenses they don't do it. But when it comes to inequalities, this is one kind of inequality which is dangerous for the society, because students passing out of that are not happy with the education. They are spent more than necessary, and they are trying to recover that money from the society. So this is like a chain reaction which is started by an institution who was a fly by night operator. So therefore, I agree with Father Joseph, that it is one kind of inequality, and we should be little concerned about that kind of inequality. So I was talking about my issue. I was speaking about that geographical area where the large holding was there. So the problem with that is that the urban center and the nearest village, because of the huge land holding, the distance was 40 kilometers. And then from there, the next village is another 30 kilometers. So unlike Goa, where our villages are at a distance of 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers, people can walk from one village to another village. And an outsider who come to Goa will not understand when one village got over and another village started. So we are all submerged because our land holding is small here in Goa. So that created one problem, that they wanted education, but they cannot travel from the village to city, study, and come back in the evening because of the sheer distance, because they have to spend 2 to 3 hours for the bus and the traveling and everything. So what they did, they started staying in the urban center, and to cut the cost, parents used to cook in the village and send a dabba in a bus. And these children used to go to bus stand and collect the dabba and keep the yesterday's dabba in the bus so that they can collect, wash it, and again put it for the next day. And we were urban centric boys. We were not getting dabbas anywhere. We are going home and eating and coming back on a cycle. And these fellows have to do this. So my principal was considerate about this problem. So whenever he used to prepare a timetable, he used to send a copy of the timetable to all these people, ask their opinion. So they used to come and express their concern that, sir, this 2 to 3 timing, my bus comes with my dabba. I can't attend the class. I have to go to bus stand to fetch that. So the principal used to change the timing based upon their needs and requirements. And we were not at all concerned about it. But intersectionality kicked in. There is an identity, and we used to call them as a Dabba gang, and we were urban gang. There is nothing against each other, but that led to discrimination. We started protesting that we don't want the timetable to be changed based on their needs and requirements. We went on a strike. See, the Dabba gang, they were not poor. They were doing this for a healthy food. And whenever they used to pack food and send, they never used to send a food for one person. They used to send for 4 or 5 people. Whenever I went to their room for studies, I used to find that the house is filled with food and hardly there is any space for books to keep. So that is how the personal identity led to discrimination, and later it led to ugly situation. And I regret, as a grown-up person, I regret to be part of that whole ugly development. And finally, principal had to take extra effort to convince us there's nothing wrong in changing the timetable based on their requirements. Why I am giving this example is because that ugly turn led to some people quitting the course. They could not complete the course because they could not withstand the humiliation that was meted out to them by people who are unaware about what they were doing. So this is the most difficult part of it, that this intersectionality can turn out to be ragging, bullying, name calling, anytime, any point of time, without anybody's realization. If you allow this to prolong, then there can be discontinuance of studies. It can also lead to lack of opportunity, and much more than mere lack of opportunity. Because some students, because as it is intersectionality, as it is within the students. Now, let us take the example of between the teachers. If there is an intersectionality between the teachers, some teachers to prefer to keep quiet rather than involving in debate, discussions in the staff meeting. Why they keep quiet? Because they feel they are getting targeted because of their background. So this is not a healthy staff room atmosphere. intersectionality needs to be identified and it should be resolved. So it is a subconscious act. I'm not saying that the people who exercise this are bad people. It's a subconscious thing that happens, but we need to avoid it at any cost. Now, how do we avoid it? Again, the answer is same. uh, as it is between the students, as it is between the teachers, there won't be any complaints until unless it turns out to the level of ragging, turns out to the level of physical abuse or sexual abuse. But till that time, it's an irritation. It's an irritation which can lead to irreparable damage. So therefore, we need to be very, very careful with our support system, accountability, mentorship, and as well as very important discussions on uh, data collections and speaking to the students. This is a very serious matter which we all should get involved and protect students and young teachers. And I started the class or I started the research believing that we are the victims of inequality. And in the meantime, I'm also finding it that we can avoid inequality among the students and the young teachers, provided we are open to these ideas. So I feel that intersectionality is an eye opener for all of us, that we are not a victim, but we are perpetrators of inequality by not taking action and by not identifying them. So let me move on to the next one, that is teachers. How we cause inequality, how we are the reasons for the inequality. Look at the blue building. The blue buildings are flying high, huge structures. Questions are simple. Do you have favorite career option to advise? You all said yes. Most of you said yes. Most of the support service is provided to the requesting students. You gladly said yes. Interaction involves one section of the class. Now here, the no is slightly going above yes. So that means you involve whole class in your discussions. Now, another one of the tallest blue building is selection of students for college activities based on compatibility. Now, based on this answer, I want to highlight few points. The point is that how we encourage inequality. As a teacher, we are guilty of inequality. Now, let us take up the first one, career advice. So we all have our own favorite careers, but we should not advise our favorite career to the student. First, we need to understand the student and then advise it. But we should not go on advising based upon what is our favorite career. So I look at the first two, personal interest, passion, strength, skill, and the last one, support system, as the most important questions that we need to ask and collect the information. If a child has a very good support system, means parents are wealthy, they are young, they can support him, then for him, we can always suggest a career which takes a lot of time to settle down, but where the growth is unlimited because he can become most prominent personality in the society. If the support system is weak, he cannot wait for long because he has to get into one or other job. For him, you have to talk about quick settlement of the career. And then from there, after settling it there, he can always take it as a place from where they can jump to the better career options. So it is all something which we need to study before giving an advice. But what we do you have a favorite career option for advice? You all said yes. But we as a person should never have a favorite career option because it is always should be based upon the necessity of the student. So once we understand the strength and weakness, then we are going to analyze, and based on that, we are going to advise. And the last point, rule 3 of uh, career advice is listen, understand, And that's again a very important point here is career advice should not be given at the final year of the student's education. Career advice should be given at the beginning of the education, because we need to identify the skill gap. So if I want to be an advocate, what are the skills I require? I require problem solving skill. Now, how do I address that skill gap? How do I explore the alternatives? How do I reevaluate myself and change my career option? That's why it should be done at the first year of the studies, and then we should be reevaluated the final year of the studies. So that is the flexibility is the key in your career advice. What students do when they are in the final year, they start thinking what to do with the life. If some are highly motivated, they get motivated in the first year, they start building the CV depending upon uh, their final career option. So that is one part of it. It's a good one, but they should not end up suffering. They chose a career and finally they find that it's not suitable to them. But throughout 5 years of the college, they worked to build a CV for that career. So that's why it is very important to advise properly. Then the second question is, most of your support service is for the requesting student. You all said yes. But do you think the requesting student is the most deserving student for that support service? Support service may be remedial class, it may be an additional benefits which college is providing. Therefore, we need to identify the needy person. It is wrong to presume that they will walk in and ask for the help. 90% of the students don't do. Only 10% do it because they are extrovert, they are courageous to come and ask for help. But 90% of them will not ask. So our job is to identify them. So we have to conduct a survey, anonymous survey, analyze the results of the survey, and then conduct a faculty meeting, ask the teachers, how is this boy in your class? Or how is this boy? Why he is not attending classes? Then you give a personal invitation, talk to them, ask them. So when you give a support to a student, it should not be based upon the request. It should be based upon a proactive role of the faculty. Then the last question here is college activity. So we choose the college activity based upon how we are compatible with the student. We generally choose our favorite student to do the activity. But we forget to answer one question. Why do we do the activities? Because NAC demands it? No, there are objectives are there. Educational enrichment is one objective. Skill development, networking, community building, institutional reputation. Now, all these things are required to be achieved by organizing events. But what do students get from these events? These are all the gains of the teacher who is organizing it, gains of the institution which is organizing it. What do teacher get? So what does the student get? That's a big question. Now, if you look at the student, they get leadership training, they get project management ability, communications they can do, teamwork, collaborations, skill they develop. They develop the idea of budgeting, financial spending, and also submitting of the bills, management of the event, marketing and promotion because they have to get funding for that event. They also involved in networking at their own level. Event planning and coordination is again another very important achievement. Negotiation and persuasion, because many a times they have to negotiate with the principal, the teachers to get what they want. That's a great skill they develop. Technical skills, many a times sound system has to be operated, many a times computer has to be operated, and flex has to be printed. All this technical exposure they get, adaptability and flexibility, delegation. But now tell me whether these skills should be learned by your favorite student only. What about other students who can perform well and also learn well, but you are not giving them opportunity because you feel you are not compatible with them. So we are forgetting one very important question, that whenever we organize a program, the beneficiary, the primary beneficiary is the student. We are the secondary beneficiaries. The participants who come for the program are secondary beneficiaries. So that's why we should involve more and more students and pull off the work very well. So so your question that comes to your mind is, should we risk the event just to give diverse experience? What is risk? See, there's nothing called as risk. We are not sacrificing the quality. We are only diversifying it. You are always there. See, have faith in yourself. So now for the purpose of diversification, we select an unknown package and we ask him to perform, and we find that he is not up to the mark. Yes, you step in, you finish the work. That is why we are there. No, we are teachers because we are firefighters. We fight when the fire engulfs the institution. Otherwise, we let others to fight. So that is what is required. So that's why we should have a transparent selection criteria. We should have rotational system. If someone organizes a program, see, last year I felt so bad that we organized maybe 10, 12 events, and same 10 students are found in all the events, because those students they have been proactive, and uh, they were good listeners, and they follow the orders well, and that is enough for the teacher to sit back and make the program happen. But that's not the purpose. We should give a rotational system where if you organize the program, next program should be given to another set of students. So at the end of this discussion, I must tell that inequality is meted out by the teachers when we do all these three things. When we advise wrongly, when we conduct a program with our compatible students, and also that one more is, what was that? One more? Two more are support services are given to requesting students only, and interaction with the class. Now that's again a very important point which I did not discuss. Interaction with the class is again uh, a skill which we lack. Most of us lack. I cannot be confident about others' ability, but as far as my ability is concerned, I'm still learning to involve each and every student in the interaction. So to bring in equality, what I do is I refuse to accept chorus answers. So if I ask a question and two, three of them shout the answer, I say that that's not the way to answer. Then I started asking specifically any student to answer. But I felt that it is more of, rather than involving them in the discussion, it was more of insulting them for not knowing the answer. So then I moved on to the next method. Whenever I ask a question, I ask them to write the answer in their book. I will come and I'll check the book. That became our more interactive sessions, because when I used to ask a question and they have to put their head down and write, and when I used to go ask them, they used to whisper in the ear, "Sir, I'm not done yet. I'm not able to find answer for this." I said, "No, no problem. Continue your research." Then I go to the next fellow. Next fellow tells the answer. I said, "Think again. I don't think it's the right answer." I go to the third fellow. "Please remember, I'm wasting my time, but the utilization of the students is max. And here I will be struggling. Definitely, I'll be struggling to complete the syllabus, because what I could have completed in one lecture, I may take one and a half, or two and a half lectures, because I have to involve each and every student into the discussion. And that's why I say policy of completion of syllabus should be relooked into. But I'm not. But there will be people who will be taking advantage of it, no doubt. But again, we should go to the next level. So let me move on to the next discussion. This is going to be the fifth one. So we are actually in the middle of the session. The fifth discussion is uh, the inequality, But here I'm more interested in inconsistent answers given by the respondents. So now here I'm moving away from the theme of the discussion. Now here, if you are watching me through your mobile, then it would be very difficult for you to see these writings. I'll just read out for the benefit of the participants. The question asked here is, do you see any following in your institution? The question is asked is, admission is a standardized process which creates barrier to disadvantaged students. Now at the end, while analyzing, I realized the question is not very clear, because there are two things involved in the question. One is whether your admission process is standardized. Then the second question is whether that standardized process creates a barrier to the disadvantaged student. So when you say no, I say there is a standardized process, but it is not creating disadvantaged situation for the students. So that's my understanding of it, because of my fault, because my questions, multiple questions were asked in under one. So there is a big red building is there, that is no. So therefore there is no disadvantage to the students through your admission process. Second question is, a promotion is given in such a way that some group remain unrepresented. Here again, we have emphatic no. Yes is there, better than the first question, but the no prevails. For the last one, the red building is the tallest, that is no is the tallest. And here it says opportunity of attending seminars, etc. is given based on the closeness to the management, and there's an emphatic no. So therefore it looks like you all are happy with the way your institution is being run. Come to the another question here. How would you define inequality in academia? You remember this question was asked in the beginning, and you are talking about lack of opportunity. That is the biggest chunk was 45%. See, if you are having a lack of opportunity, then how you think that there is no closeness to the management is the main reason for, then why you are having a lack of opportunity? See, this response are not matching with one another, because if the lack of opportunity is running at 46%, then the opportunity to attend seminar should be more, but that doesn't happen. Now, what is the conclusion from this? The conclusion here is that the answer to the first question and this question, there is a kind of inconsistency. And I have to find out the reason for that inconsistency. So this is just, I'm just trying to highlight how things going to work. What type of inequality do you think is most prevalent in academia? Now, that red is high and orange is low. Actually, I'm a little color blind. I hope I'm identifying the colors correctly. Gender inequality, the highest people are saying it's very low. There is no gender inequality for men. But when it comes to gender inequality for women, it is high. Racial and ethnic inequality, high, very high. Socioeconomic inequality, high. Disability, no, it's low. LGBTQ inequality, low. And geographic inequality is high. So my question here is, LGBTQ and the disability inequality do not exist in your institutions. That's a very interesting finding. But whereas other inequalities do exist. Now, if you go back to this question about admission, which ensures diversity, and here, when you look at this answer, I do see consistency. There is a consistency in response, because the racial and other thing is high, but whereas there is inconsistency here, because they say that there is no disadvantages, but here we see inequalities. So therefore, there is again inconsistency here. So one inconsistency is here, another inconsistency is here. Let us come to the third one. What worst barrier that needs to be bridged for the benefit of the students with disabilities? It's almost 25%, each one of them. Accessibility to building, accessibility to information, insensitivity of peer and students, insensitivity of faculty and management. This all they are saying we have to overcome these problems. Now, when you have to overcome these problems, then how do you say that there is a no inequality of disability? That again, inconsistency. So, hold on to your question. Please don't ask questions of the disability. You might have answered by keeping certain other idea in mind. But when I come to the 10th discussion, there I will clarify further. So keep this question in mind. Let us discuss that later. So now moving on to the the next discussion is a mentorship. Here I have nothing more to add because when I look at the mentor, 18%, that is the red one, they don't have a mentorship program in their institution. Please introduce mentorship program because that is one way you can overcome all kinds of inequalities and fallacies that you have in your institution. And the second question was even more heartening when I asked a question whether you deal with academic problems, personal problems, or both academic and personal problems. And 72% of this they said they deal with both academic and personal problems. And here again, I want to mention that getting personally involved with the student is should be encouraged. I don't mean to say what is coming to your mind. What I mean is personally involved means that you should deal with their issues and problems, understand their issues and problems. One encouraging word can change the world for them. Once I was having online Viva with a student, and out of nothing, but I just asked, "How are you?" She said, "I'm fine, sir," because it was online. Viva was going on, COVID was at its peak. Then I asked how you are managing the lockdown. She said, "Sir, I'm alone at home and only nothing else I have to do. I have to only just look at the roof and spend the day." I asked, "Why you are alone?" She said, "In the first wave, my father died. Second wave, my mother." Now, see, until unless you ask personal questions, you'll never come to know about what they are going through. See, that was a shocking revelation for me. And I asked her, "Are you ready for Viva?" She said, "Yes, sir. Whether I have any other option?" I said, "If you're not ready, no, I can conduct Viva some other time. I can fix another date for your benefit." So that concern has helped her to recover from that so well that I really appreciate that I could understand her problem and I could address the problem. And I have not done any great thing in this, only showed a concern for the problem that she's facing. Now let me move on to the next one. This is the most important bias which we all suffer. That is a funding bias. So I asked a question, is your institution has a lesser funding opportunities? And the reasons I asked, one is alumni doesn't contribute. Their the neutral is highest and no agree is second highest. Funding agencies do not contribute to your institution. Again, agree and strongly agree is ruling the roost. Neutral is also there on the higher side. The question here is teachers don't apply for funding due to lack of culture of the research. There is again agree runs over the roof. And then we don't know how to get funding for the research. That again, agree is going very high. So alumni contribution, that's the only place where there is a kind of an agreement, but there is not much benefit from that. But whereas the other parts, we say funding agencies discriminate. Teachers, we don't have training, we don't have how to go about it. Now here, I have few remedies for this. So fundraising strategies. Now why we need funds? We need funds to uh, first thing is to conduct programs to invest in the future of the students, not to give it to management, but to spend on the institution. And another important object behind the fundraising is teachers are going to go beyond the classroom teaching and do something extraordinary for their own career. So government grants and fundings do exist. Only thing is we need to train ourselves on how to apply. Similarly, for private donations and philanthropy, we need to apply. How to go about it? That's again, it's a process of training. And I request Dr. Mona and Mariam to look into this, and you can conduct a program on fundraising strategies from the government, private donations. You can collect the important links where they can apply and how they can apply. Because this is an art. Getting fund from the society is an art. Because my principal, who is retired now, he used to say that money is available, ample money is available in the market. Only we need to know how to tap it. And I strongly believe that we should know how to tap it. And secondly, please remember, rejection is a part of the game. The moment you get rejected, you get ready for the second application somewhere else, because you will get rejected many times, and that's a part of the game, because you are nobody when you approach for donations or approach for the funding. But after you complete one project, you can always show that as a flag bearer. Sir, I have completed a project and this is the result and this is the report I have prepared. Second funding becomes easy. Fundraising campaigns. Now, this is something very different from applying for funds. You can raise the fund by conducting the campaigns. That's again involving the students innovatively. You are going beyond the classroom teaching. Then research funding, we can create our own funding through the tuition fees. That's again a very easy way of creating funds for research. Income generating activities. Now here I do involve in many income generating activities. I conduct 2 or 3 certificate courses in a year. Every year I conduct. I'm the coordinator, I'm the teacher, and I take help of few of my faculty, and we charge. And we end up 25-30,000 rupees from every program. So this is over and above earning for the teacher. And we are going to reinvest that into the research and other activities. Grants and for specific programs, that's again a very interesting way of generating funds. So if you are having a child rights clinic, consumer clinic, so that clinic can apply and get the funds for their activities. So it's only about thinking beyond classroom. Don't ever think that you complete, you study, come to class, deliver a lecture, your job done for the day. See, when I get up, brush my teeth, take bath, the day has not ended for me. It just started. It just begun. So taking lecture is like brushing teeth and taking bath. You are ready for the day. Then the day starts and you are going to work on that. So let me take you to the next 8th discussion, that is gender bias that exists in the society. The gender bias is, do you think gender roles and expectations impact academic career choices and advancements? 45 of you agreed that gender roles and expectations impact my career choices. 35 of you strongly agreed for it. So if I combine both of them, I'm almost reaching 90%, 80%. 80% of you strongly believe that gender roles and expectations impact your career choices. Please remember, 66% are women, and we are getting 80% agreement. So that means not only women, even men feel that the gender roles and expectations get involved with our choices. Have you noticed gender disparities in your field, study or work? Now here again, yes, frequently is 35%. Yes, occasionally is 41%. So again, here if you say 75% feel that there is gender disparities and they have noticed these gender disparities. Still, a small chunk of the people feel that they have not noticed any of these gender disparities. Have you personally experienced or witnessed any form of discrimination or bias? Now, here, personal experience runs to 58%. That's quite large number of them personally felt the discrimination personally. If you see, 75% of them have noticed gender disparity. Here they have experienced the gender disparity or discrimination. But if I take you to the next question, here your, what should I say? You're trying to be very diplomatic, or you are trying to be constitutionally correct. Because when I ask you a question, that share your experience of instances where you felt supported or unsupported in your academic journey. When I asked whether junior colleagues support, you said very supportive. That's a huge red building is there. Senior colleagues, yes, big number is there in support, and second is very supportive. Management, again, yes, big is S, and then very supportive is third biggest. And then academic fraternity, anyone else, again, yes is a big one. Now, if you have so much of support, how do you have discrimination? How do you suffer noticed discrimination? One of the answer is wrong. There is again inconsistency. See, please, this is see why I'm highlighting these things are not that I'm trying to accuse you or of you something, but this is how we researchers look at the questions, because it's not about individual answers, it's a comparison between two answers which is going to reveal the best results. Now, how do I interpret this inconsistency? How do I look at it? Now, I should utilize that orange and green building to explain this. Less supportive and no support. But otherwise, it's going to be a very weak uh, analysis if I say that one of the answer is wrong, because there is a consistency in disparity and experience of disparity. But where is support, this answer I will not accept it and I'll reject it in my research work. So that's again, that is what I was trying to establish before you. Continuing with this, how do you address this disparity, gender disparity, and whether does it exist? Yes.
Sorry for interruption. Would like to take a couple of questions or towards
Yes,
the
please.
end.
No, I'll
Yes,
take it now.
Okay, okay. Ask first Ashish Barut and then followed by Father Joseph.
Yes.
Ashish
Yes,
Barut.
Ashish. Ashish, you can unmute and tell me.
Ashish.
Okay, we'll go with Reverend Father Joseph.
Yes, Father Joseph.
Yes. Sir, I am speaking from the point of view of discrimination, which I felt. I did my LLM in the north. I'm being a man coming from the far south. There was some kind of, I don't know, maybe because of the faculty over there. I don't
Yeah.
reveal the name. It's a very, very well reputed one among the top 10 law schools in India, in which I studied for my graduation. Then it was some kind of always some south discrimination was there in giving away the internal marks, and
Yes.
also often they will use very colloquial and vernacular language when they take classes. We will be fumbled. We are not able to understand, and
Yeah.
such things are there. Maybe because of the character of some of the teachers or or maybe the locality, the area in which that institution is situated. Such things may be there, but there was a kind of I experienced personally But we are somewhat
Yeah,
grown
yeah,
up
I
people.
agree. I agree, Father. But what happens is, this is, I call it as intersectionality, because this has to be addressed. And most of the students are of the opinion that I'm here for another year, and why should I take the trouble of raising these issues and other things. And that is one of the reason why sexual harassment so much prevails in institutions. I have experienced this situation when, uh, like Father Joseph, many suffered under a professor, but nobody raised an issue. But one fine day, a girl raised a complaint, and 12 years back, a girl who passed out from that institution, 12 years back, she had passed out. She had settled in Dubai. From Dubai, she wrote a letter saying that she was also sexually harassed. And then she flew from Dubai to give evidence against that professor. So it is just, what we need is a spark. One spark is enough to bring an end to all these kind of discriminations. And what you are saying does prevail, and it does prevail because of language barrier and other things. And how do you address these things is making them more sensitive and accountable for such behavior, because it's, again, it's a process. There is nothing called as one stop solution for everything. It's a process, and in the process we need to achieve these things. So I agree, Father, because the problem do exist, and the solution lies in our hand. Only thing is, we need to rake up this issue rather than silently suffering it. Now, coming back to this gender disparity, I have written there are more female respondents are there, so I need to take some precautions in accepting the result. But my personal experience is there do exist gender disparity. Leadership positions, yes, women in leadership positions, that's becoming a little difficult. Mainly, the men don't like to take orders from women, and that's a reason why leadership positions are not given to women. And secondly, because of her gender specific role in the house, at home, and at her village, and within the relatives, she may not be able to take up leadership positions. And that's one of the reason that gender specific roles uh, gets attached. Leadership is only for men. That's again a wrong way of STEM and humanities. Now, STEM is the science, technology, electronics, and mathematics. That's the men subject. Humanities are women subject. College functions, that's a major area where gender disparity can be seen. Bouquets are to be given by only females. Arrangement of food and arrangement of breakfast is a boys' job. Why? That's again a disparity. Role in a cultural events, again, there is gender specific roles are given. And in book publication, editors are always female. Why female should be the editors? Why boys cannot speak English and correct the English books? But these are all gender specific, because the moment they want to come up with a journal or a book, there's such a lady teacher who can do the editing job. I don't understand how it becomes gender specific and why they are only selected for that. Now here, please remember, I have identified gender specific role which are superior for women and inferior for men, just for a change, nothing specific about it. So small steps lead to great results. So what we should do is, first thing, this is again exercise undertaken in my institution. We went through our website and we removed all the language which are exclusive. That is chairman and other things, and we made it into chairperson and leader, where gender neutral terms are used. They we made it sure that gender neutral language is used. Posters and flyers should be put up demanding the gender equality. Policy for equal representation should be prepared. These are the small things, but I believe me, it's going to yield very good results, because my college had three GSs continuously for 3 years, female GS, general secretaries. That's again a great achievement, and I feel there is these small steps has really yielded the results. So that's what I sincerely feel. So this is about the gender uh, equality. Now let me take you to the last but one, diversity. So do your institution has the following diversity: geographical diversity high, economic diversity high, ethnic high, religious high, caste high, class high, and gender high. So you all responded saying that there is a high diversity exists as far as all the diversities are concerned, from geography to gender, everything is high. And when I compare that to earlier questions, do you see any of the newer institutions that barriers? You said no, no barriers exist. So I can see the consistency in the answers. There is no barriers, that's why there is a diversity. So I agree with this finding, and I do feel that if the admission process is standardized, then definitely it will be a barrier for some of the students. So therefore, we need to have a flexible admission process. So if it is standardized, it cannot be disadvantages or advantageous to all. It definitely causes disadvantages to some. I asked another question about how effective do you think institutions are supporting the racial ethnic diversity among the students? Blue is very effective, and that runs at 35%. Somewhat effective is 44%. So therefore, that again forms almost like 75% of the answers. So again, there I can see the consistency in the responses. So the diversity is maintained in the class. Now the question comes, the most important question that comes here is how far and why this diversity is required. What is the use of this diversity? When I asked this question, the answers were four. To give wide view of classroom discussion. Second one is to provide cross-section of the society's experience in the classroom. Third is to create tolerance to diversity. The fourth one is it is needed but not very important for teaching. 16% of them feel that it is needed but not very important for teaching. Green one. But I want to impress upon the other fellows that diversity is very, very important. And majority of them chose the red, 43%. Is to provide a cross-section of the society experience in the classroom. Again, if I had given multiple choice, then you would have ticked all three or all four. But because I asked you to choose, majority of them felt that this diversity is going to help in providing cross-section of the society experience in the classroom. So it's like you are building a small society within the four walls of the classroom. You have representation from all the sections, all the communities in the society in that classroom. Don't you think that is a great way of teaching the students? And what happens by giving that cross-section experience? You give a wide view in the classroom discussion because everybody have different views. At least you have an opportunity to hear the others' views. And when you start hearing the others' views, you develop a tolerance to everybody's views. So you stop thinking that your views are the best. So all three are right answers, but the other two answers are flowing out of the red one. Very happy that you have cracked this question so well that 43 of you have correctly identified that by giving cross section, you're going to achieve great things. Now let me address the green one, that it is not very important for the teaching. So let me address that. See, it is important for the teaching in the classroom because it reduces prejudices and stereotypes. Please, stereotyping is a great disservice we do for the society. We do stereotype. Many things have been stereotyped. But as and when you interact with other part of the community, other side of the society, you reduce those prejudices and stereotypings. It reflects real world diversity rather than the diversity that you see on the Instagram, that the diversity that you see in the book, diversity that you hear from the parents. Here is the real world diversity. Improves academic outcomes. Definitely, yes. Forget about marks in the examination, but you can definitely be excellent academicians once you have interaction with the wide diversity. Encourage personal growth. Yes. Builds a stronger community, broadens perspectives, promotes critical thinking. Yes, because every argument has its own line of thinking, and you are trying to appreciate everyone others thinking. So you develop that critical approach to the thinking process, enhances creativity and innovation, prepares for the global workforce. Because wherever you travel, wherever you work, definitely you're going to be open to the ideas of from the other communities. And this is what you are going to get when you ensure diversity. So keeping this thing in mind, uh, I want to address those people in green, that it is needed, because when you address the class, when you interact with the class, you are definitely going to create a more tolerant society. So when, let us take the burning example of between Hindus and Muslims. As long as we hear the arguments from the other side, and as long as we hear the reasonings from the other side, we are definitely going to interact well. But in absence of that, we frame our own opinion and we think that we are right and they are wrong, which is not correct. The worst barrier. Now let me move on to the last one. That's what I said. It's about disability. There you had mentioned that disability is not a problem, and there is no problem with disability in your institutions. The worst barrier that you have to overcome, this we already discussed, 25% for all, almost. It's about building accessibility, information accessibility, sensitivity for the peers and students, and faculty and management. So one biggest problem with a disability is egg and chicken dilemma. So we, as an institutions, we tell that let the student join, we'll give facilities. So let the student with the visual impairment join. We'll see how we can help. We say that a locomotor disabled person, let him join. We'll see what to do. Something we will do. But the other way around, a visually impaired person will say that there is no facility, how can I go? So he doesn't enter the institution. So we wait for the student, and the student is waiting for the, so what should I say, facilities. So egg or chicken would be the dilemma that needs to be answered first. So I suggest prepare the facilities and keep it and publicize it. Then you start attracting the students. And this idea that let the students come, then we'll create the facilities is a bad idea. It will not work. So you have to create facilities and wait. So what we require here is accessibility to the building. That's a first requirement, accessibility to the information, and then we'll wait. So the moment they start joining, the diversity helps us in creating facilities. So fulfilling the NAC requirement should be our first step forward, because the NAC demands certain things to be make it disabled friendly. Once you do that, you complete the NAC requirement, but you're creating an opportunity for the students to join, students with disability to join your course. And technology can be of a great help, because that's going to solve 90% of our problems. And the moment you hire those softwares and other things, it's going to create a great help. So structural adjustment, that is again where maximum expenses are required to make it disabled friendly. And the sensitivity, that's the most important part of the whole process. because we have to be sensitive about their requirements, needs, and at the same time we have to tolerate the persons with a disability also, because building that needs it needs a prolonged and consistent approach. Every time we have to build that sensitivity process. So here we come to the last slide of my discussion. Do you think current support service and accommodation in your institution for individuals with disabilities are efficient? So when I asked this question, uh, 37.7 say agree their support system is efficient, but whereas 31% are neutral. They are not sure whether it is sufficient or not. So there again, there is a slight inconsistency in your responses. As a concluding remark, which I want to draw your attention to, is that we suffer inequalities and also we propagate inequality. So therefore, we are victims and the offenders of the inequality. What I recommend to you all is to be more proactive teachers and go beyond your call of duty. Subject is teaching, the subject is just a part of your job. You are creating a new generation, and a new generation will not be created just by studying a subject. It is created uh, by creating a personality. Get involved in creating their personality and build all these inequalities. I should say that Manipal institution should take the initiative and start building a consortium and start working towards bridging that inequality of access, inequality of fundings, and other things. All the best, and thank you very much for inviting me to deliver a lecture here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful, I would say outcome of survey that you always do in before every session that we have seen observing for, many years. So, any participant, you can raise your hand. That can put a question for sir. Mohammed Salim, I think you raise your hand. Again, yeah. Yes, participants.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Thank you for your dedication and respect to the pedagogy, along with the class discipline and the performance. So my question is that as the lowest teachers and the lowest students, they are entering into the BNLB 5-year course, they are coming after the 12th standard. So there is a great challenge for the teachers that they have to accommodate them as to their regional language barriers. Sometimes it is continuing in the classes, so there is how we have to create it. You have deliberated all those things. I was very patiently listening to you, but there are some few points that you will highlight and advise to us that how we can accommodate and arrange all these the barriers which the student feel and sometimes the teachers also feel in communication because they are from a very just like the Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, they are very preferably to all those language, local language.
Yes, thank you, Doctor Mohammed. See, I agree with your concern. We had international student exchange program, and we used to get students from Afghanistan, and they could hardly speak English. And it was only a matter of first semester or maybe for few second semester. Third semester onwards, they learned the language and started interacting. And what we did is we started coaching in English. Now, see, sometimes what happens is quality of the students that we get is so diverse that some students are fast learners, some are slow learners, some are fluent with language, some are not so fluent. So under those circumstances, we have to bring them as a uniform uh, entity. For that, we need to give additional training for the people who need that additional training. So even now, even today, we are, you won't believe, Dr. Salim, we started a course on how to use Word document, PowerPoint, and Excel sheet. Why it is required? I felt that if a student is going to join a lawyer's office for internship, he should add value to the lawyer's office. And you know how many students joined? 40 students have joined that course. We believe that by knowing Instagram, they know the technology. That's not correct. Even today, I see my daughter asking me silliest of questions on use of Word document, and she is a thorough expert in using Instagram. Even I don't know what she do with those Instagram, because somewhere we need to build that gap. So the best way to build the gap is start courses, additional courses for the students. Wherever you see the gap, start a course. Get the help from outside. You cannot do everything. See, now for this course, as I said, we are providing 40 students, and it is a course we run twice a year. We got someone from the computer education center, and he used to charge 2,500 rupees per student. We fixed at 500 rupees because consistency is there, continuity is there, and we are providing all the facilities. So he agreed. So now we are running the course. So that is how you are going to bridge that gap. I understand students come from the different background, and they have language barrier. They have, and they are all youngsters. Hardly they have cleared the 12th standard, and they are into law. And there what happens is adjusting to that freedom is also major difficulty. You know, in 12th standard, they are not allowed to take mobile to college institution. They hide in the bag. And when they come to the law college and they see students walking in the corridor with a phone on their ears, they get shocked. They say, "Arey, we can use phone in the college corridor." That's something which they have not done any time in their life. And second thing, every teacher gives them notes, and in college again they have to do on their own. So spoon feeding stops. So all these are cultural shock which they will be facing, and that is where we need to be more considerate and inclusive.
Sure, sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Salim.
thank you. Yeah. Any other last questions, participant? Reaching 5 p.m. Yeah. Anything else? So, due to like I was in the previous institution, so there were so many international students, around 3,000 maybe. So separate hostel for them because they keep fighting, and this happens, right? Every few months, Indian students and international students they keep fighting, and then regarding mass issue also, international student mass, and then so there are things it's there. Again, how we cope up with those kind of circumstances. Like it's really challenging for administration always, but again, things are
Yeah,
there, and then I've seen there's a great bonding with international Indian students. They are like, I would say they won't be having great bonding with Indian students. Rather, they are having good bonding with international. Those examples are also there. And it's a good learning, I would say, because people from all over the India, like where, for example, national level institution will learn a lot of things. People from international, uh, like foreign students are there. So it's a great learning for them. That we obviously challenge is there. Like yes, any other questions, participants?
Uh, Sir, I have a question, if I may. This is Irmala from Surat.
Yeah, please.
yes, please.
Sir, my simple query is that we want to start add-on courses, supposing, but
Yeah.
for that affiliation with university or some other institute is mandatory. Does that course have any value for our ranking in future? Because we will start the course, we'll start it wholeheartedly, which will be beneficial to the student. Experts will come and coach them, but always affiliation and starting a course with university management doesn't permit. So what is your take on that, sir?
See, Dr. Irumala, this is a very technical part of the question. I have studied this NAC document very thoroughly, and they expect minimum 16 to 20 hours of the course to be recognized as a course by NAC. And as long as you are running a certificate course, you don't require affiliation from any university, as long as it is not a diploma. So for diploma, you require affiliation from the university. And this, when you're running the certificate courses, you can always run the certificate course in association with another institution. Because I run a course on conflict management. It is purely run by the college, and certificate is issued by the college. That's it. So there is no more additions to that. And we charge 800 rupees. That's one of the costliest course, because cost is not involved in that, because our own teachers take the lectures. So as far as add-on courses are concerned, as far as certificate courses are concerned, your institutions very well can grant those certificates, and it can be issued under your institution's name. It need not be affiliated to any of the universities or nothing. And as long as you run it more 16 to 20 hours, more than that duration, NAC will give you weightage for running those courses. Only one foolish rule that they have is that every year the course should new course should be floated. The same course should not be repeated. That's a foolishness, because students change. When students change, they want to learn the same thing, and that's the rule they have said. So what we do is conflict management, and then we say that conflict management part 2, like Bahubali, Bahubali part 2. So
Okay, so
that's why
thanks
we
for
do
the
part 2.
clarity.
Thank
But
you.
one
Thank
more,
you.
question. So,
Yeah.
the courses can be managed on Saturdays, or they have to be like mandatorily after the classroom teaching hours. If you have space, if you have spare classroom, then
Yes, yes,
they can be
definitely. Now,
clubbed.
see what happens is, first of all, we need geo-tagged photographs, and we need a proper timetable and attendance sheet. So once we have these three things, you can run any time that you want. So if you're having a spare classroom, and if you're having time after the classes, then you can run it very well. What I prefer is, I don't want to prolong the course for very long, because I want to be free of this work so that I can concentrate on another work. So what I do is, I run it for 3 to 4 days and wind it up. So I do the course with 3 to 4 hours as an assessment time. That means what remains is maybe 13 to 14 hours of teaching. So for that 13 to 14 of our teaching, I start at 12 o'clock and wind up at 4 every day. So with that, I count it as 4 hours a day. So then we cover it in 3 days. And then assessment would be done. It's not an exam format. Assessment would be more innovative way, where they are going to complete an assignment and submit, and the certificate will be issued. So don't prolong it, because if you run every Saturday, then it will go to 1 month or 1.5 months, and you can't take up any other activity. So that would be a disadvantage for you. You will not be exploring the way you should be exploring. So what sometimes we invite the lawyers and the judges for the classes. So what we do is, we run Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Saturday, we keep it for all the judges and the lawyers and wind it up. So start and finish. Don't prolong it. And students also don't want to listen to the same set of teachers in the courses also. So we have 3 year course and 5 year. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. You have given lots of clarity. It will help me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Sorry, sorry, sorry. No, it was. I think it's my mistake. Participants, keep your mic muted. Okay, sir. Finally, I
Uh,
have muted. So yes, I have muted. So you
Somebody
open
is
for
on
all.
hold. Nimpriya is on hold.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for valuable time. I know you informed me, right? You were at some, family emergency. Even if your statement, you can't say no to me. So, so you are always there, right, in every program, and then most of the time you are
Yeah.
opening that, for that particular program, whatever you have done last, especially like 4 or 5 years. And I hope, and then that is very great. I would say, looking at that, you float this survey from every, I would say before every program, and then on that basis of that insight, you build up your lecture. So this is not a theory that you will get from Google. So this is freshly like done by sir in last, I would say, couple of weeks. So thank you very much, sir. And then second, I would say, sir, please write a paper, right? I would see, like to see paper in this upcoming month on basis of this particular insight that we have received from this survey. Thank you very much, sir. Look forward to seeing future events. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mona. Thank you, Dr. Mariam, all the participants for joining. So see you tomorrow in our last session. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.